Dare I ask where you were last night?
In close proximity to gin and tonic.
Oh, same place as the night before.
Oh, how observant of you.
It's difficult to miss, at least from the perspective of the mornings after.
Well, if you're worried about my work today, don't be.
No, I'm not. You stood in this very office and you pledged unswerving allegiance to the banner. So I'm sure your writing will be its usual incisive best, despite a headache whose pounding I can feel on this side of the desk.
Have I ever let you down as far as my work goes?
No. But even a man with your prodigious talent for reportage and gin cannot go on like this indefinitely.
You sound like a needlepoint.
You'll have to excuse me. Mel, you have your coffee, aspirin, and a story to write. Please.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Joy Behar. This morning, my guest is Dr. M. Maude Boylan, better known to her millions of avid readers as Dr. Maude, psychiatrist, teacher, scholar, and author of Sex and Religion and Sex and Your Teenager. Her latest book, Sex and the Mature Woman, is currently flying off bookstore shelves all over the country. Welcome. Congratulations. And let me tell you, you are my hero.
Well, thank you very much, Joy. But you know, it's the mature woman out there that deserves praise. They have finally begun to honor who they are sexually.
I'm dying to ask you this question, my first question. How did you get so smart sexually?
Well, I'm tempted, of course, to say profound experience. Let's stop. Just for a minute. Ask instead, what makes us human? The use of tools? Language? I think it's primarily our ability to dream. The flash of imagination.
Morning.
What sparks all your
What are you watching?
activity. And constantly surprised.
Nothing.
Well, hey, wasn't that, what's her name?
Yeah, Dr. I don't know, Maude.
Oh, yeah, she's terrific. She really knows her stuff. What's she got on her mind today?
Sex, by definition, is creative. In fact, it can be one of the most expressive forms of human activity. So how can imagination, dreams, fantasy not be a part of it? In my opinion, fantasy is not only a part of the normal, healthy sex life, it is the key ingredient. And by the way, a whole lot of fun. Which is all to the good. Can you imagine a world where there would be no whimsical twist?
Room?
You're not far off. No, what I'm saying is that if we treat our sexual impulses as a kind of a dark energy, a force to be overcome rather than nurtured, a problem as opposed to a loving means of communion, then we consign it to a kind of little box in our heads. And that box is labeled caution, inflammable, for emergency use only.
I just love her.
So what can we do about that?
It helps to remember that in a loving, consensual relationship, there really is only one rule. And that rule is play. But play safe.
Well, thank you, Dr. Maude. Please join me on Monday for the premiere of my new show, The View, with Barbara Walters.
Okay.
But just when it was getting interesting. What's the matter? Don't you like to play?
Well, this has been a most enlightening interlude, but now I think it's time we got back in the saddle. That's not what I meant. I was referring to work.
I know. What I don't know is why you always get so darn squeamish whenever the conversation rolls around to sex.
Oh, I don't know. Just a mystery to me.
Well, I can see how it might be difficult for you now that you're in touch with everything that happened to you as a child, but it just seems to me like you've been working like a slave to reckon with all that.
Yes, I have, but that's not it anyway, okay?
Well, then what? I mean, God knows that we're not strangers to the subject. I mean, we used to have some fine old times in that big old bed of ours.
Do you mind? I really don't think this conversation is appropriate to this office.
Well, why? You heard what Dr. Maude said about keeping your sexuality shoved off in a corner someplace. She said don't.
Yeah, well, with all due deference to Dr. Maude, I think there are some issues born in the bedroom that ought not to be raised in the bedroom.
Sometimes things just kind of pop up.
Clint, will you stop it? Come on, now you're incorrigible.
Yes, I know. What do you want to do, haul me off for sexual harassment? All right, I'm guilty.
What am I going to do with you? Don't answer that. You know, you squawked louder than anyone else in this place about Kevin's alliance with Cassie. In case you have forgotten, you were vehemently opposed to workplace romance.
Yes, and I still am. However, I would be willing to make an exception. Look, what's the point in being editor-in-chief if you can't poke a little fun?
Nowhere in your job description does the word fun appear. Your task is to worry endlessly, especially about wayward staff members like Mel Hayes, whose hangover is beginning to seem permanent.